Hello and welcome to AV Cyberactive. Welcome to session 1 of SOC L1 interview questions. If you've missed the first part of the video, do check that out. I'll link them in the links below. Let's go ahead and start with our first question. It's honeypot and the types of honeypots, which we are going to discuss later. So what's a honeypot? Now, a honeypot is something that is designed to lure or waste your attacker's time. So it's basically a decoy server or a system that is deployed on your actual production or just beside your production environment, and that mimics your production environment. Now, honeypots are designed to look like attractive targets, which is deployed by your IT professionals. Now, how does a honeypot work? In many ways, your honeypot looks like a genuine computer, and it has applications, data that cyber criminals might try to target. So a honeypot can, for instance, pretend to be a system that contains sensitive information like credit card information, personal information. The system can be populated with a decoy data that may try to draw the attacker's attention. So the main and sole purpose is you would want to waste the attacker's time. And the second purpose is to learn from all the data that you have gathered from your honeypot devices, put it into in some kind of documentation, and make sure you apply your incident management or lessons learned process so that the next time the attacker comes to your network, the payloads that the attacker has deployed, the way it did some of its attack, you can learn from them and put in safeguards or controls on your environment so that you can harden your network and the attacker is unable to perform the attack the next time, even if it's somehow able to get into your actual network and it's able to bypass the honeypot. Now, sometimes you would also intentionally leave security vulnerabilities to lure the attackers. They may have ports that are vulnerable to a port scan, which is a technique for figuring out which ports are open into the network. A port left open may entice your attacker to perform more attacks in your network, and allowing the security team to observe as they proceed with their attack. So that is something that you can learn. So again, what you can learn is how the attacker came into the network and that information against, so that you can harden your work. But of course, here's the definition if you would want to have a look for honeypots. So it refers to a decoy systems that are deployed next to the systems or your organization actually uses for production. So honeypots are designed to look like attractive or real targets, and they are deployed to allow IT systems to monitor the system's security responses to redirect the attacker away from the intended target. The types of honeypots. Now, there are a few types of honeypots that I'm trying to go ahead and try to explain. First of all is the malware honeypot. Now, the malware honeypot is an interesting one because it tries to mimic or lure in a malware. So say, for example, it will try to imitate a USB device, and if a computer comes under attack, it will be fooled of it will be fooling of thinking that it's attacking an actual USB device. Spam honeypot, on the other hand, spam honeypots are designed to attract spammers by using open proxies and mail relays. So the spammers perform these tests on mail relays by using them to send themselves an email or email systems. If they're successful, they can transmit large amounts of spam. A spam trap is basically what you have achieved over here. So a spam trap can identify a spammer's test and then block the spam they are trying to send out. So basically what you're trying to learn is how these spammers are trying to spam your network and then harden your own network so that you can avoid these kind of spams. Database honeypot. Now, a database honeypot is another interesting one. This is a honeypot that is used to make a decoy databases to attract specific attacks like your SQL injection attacks, which illicitly manage data. SQL injection is a server-side attack. These kind of honeypots can be implemented by using a database firewall. Client honeypot. Now in a client honeypot, the honeypot attempts to lure malicious servers that attackers use while attacking the clients. They pose as clients and observe how the attacker makes modifications to a server during the attack. Now, the client honeypots are typically run in a virtualized or containerized environment and have containment protections in place to reduce the risk of exposure to the researchers, which means whatever happens inside this containerized environment does not go out. And at last, Honeynet. Now, Honeynet is like a combination or a collection, a lot or many honeypots that will look like an actual system or an entire network. While a honeynet is used to study different kind of attacks, it contains all traffic, both inbound and outbound, to protect the rest of your environments and system. So basically, honeynet will make your attacker think that it is actually not inside a system, but it's inside an actual network with real resources, some real names. Of course, they're pseudonymized, and will have some data as well. So the more time the attacker spends on the honeynet, the more time you get to protect your own organization's environment. Okay. All right, moving on to the next questions. How do you investigate an IDS and an IPS log? This is again a very interesting one and often asked in security operations. We'll go ahead and discuss two types of IDS and IPS logs today. Log 1, capture these logs from the Fortinet sample log. So this is not an actual production log. This is just a sample obtained freely from Fortinet website. Now, interestingly, what you would notice that how many people get confused between firewall logs and IDS IPS logs, that they look similar, but they actually aren't. If you're looking at a firewall log, they come unprocessed and they are mostly just informational logs. IDS and IPS logs, on the other hand, they come with some kind of processing that's already being done at an IDS and IPS level. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me try to clarify over here with the help of an example. If you look at this sample log, you would see it says it's got a date, a log ID, and it says that the log type is a sniffer traffic, which means it compared it with its own signature database. It saw the traffic and it thinks that the attacker who is coming from the outside or inside the network, as the case may be, is a sniffing traffic, or it might be trying to do some kind of reconnaissance. Let's see what else does it have for us. It's got a source IP. It says that the source IP is from Canada. Source port looks like a very high level port, and it's got a destination IP address 104, again placed in the DMZ, and destination country is United States. It's got some more information which you may or may not use, but you would see that the UTM, that the firewall action, it was allowed. So it allowed the traffic. And why did it allow the traffic? There can be several reasons, and it accepts the traffic as well. One of the reasons could be that you might have had in your environment on your policy, you might have defined if it's United States or Canada traffic. In this case, the source country was Canada. You might have whitelisted it and allowed the traffic. It depends how you configure your IDS IPS appliance, either to implicitly deny or explicitly deny. Now, this is just one type of log. Let's have a look at the second type of log, which is again an interesting one. This is an antivirus log that is captured. So again, you have a date and a time, log ID, UTM. You'd see the subtype of this time it says virus, and the file it captured, the file hash, and you will also see the virus, the name of the file. Now, if you're anywhere near the security industry, you would know what's an ICAR test file. ICAR test file is basically a file that's designed for antivirus softwares to think that it's a malware, but in reality it's not. Is sometimes you just test your antivirus solutions to check and see if they are working properly. So your red team teams might sometimes try to do these activities. Now you see the action that was taken over here, that the file was not quarantined, which means it was straight away most probably was deleted. It has also got a source IP, which means it came internally from your network, and then destination IPs where it sent the log, most probably your IDS IPS system or some other kind of solution, file name, icar.com, and some more information. So this is how an IDS and IPS log would look like. Just remember that IDS and IPS log, when you receive it, there's some kind of action might have already been taken place, and what you see is a processed logs, unlike a firewall, which mostly are just informational logs, and then you would act on it once you see that information. So IDS again is placed parallel to a network, and IPS is something that you place inline. I've made a separate video on IDS and IPS. Do check that out. I'll leave the links in the card and also at the description down below. Next, let's move on to the next question. So what is a cookie stealing? This is where you would have to know what it is a man-in-the-middle attack. Now imagine that you are logging on to facebook.com or instagram.com, and on the other side you have your laptop connected securely, and not insecurely, but in this case you're connected securely to Facebook. So when you try to log into Facebook, you would first go ahead and provide your credentials. Facebook says everything is okay, go ahead and log in. Here's the page. It would give you a session number or a session ID, and it would also store some information on your computer, and that is called a cookie. Now the cookie will have some information, like it will have your username, not password, just the username, some identifiers like your location, date, time, the validity, that's important, of the cookie. Sometimes the cookies are valid for infinite sessions, the browser that you are using, and sometimes some more informational things that Facebook might not want to tell you. What I want to hint here is some advertisement information. This information, it'll store it in your browser of your computer, the Chrome or Firefox, depending on what you're using, and it will use this information so that the next time you do not have to provide your username and password. If it has this cookie information, it'll ask your computer to send this cookie back to the Facebook servers. If the Facebook server is able to validate the cookie, it'll say you're okay, you don't have to provide your credentials once again. You're okay to go ahead and visit Facebook without even providing your credentials. Now there is an attacker, and the attackers are very smart. They know everything. They will try to go ahead and try to steal this cookie information. If somehow they are able to get this cookie and try to log in using this cookie in their personal computers, they would be pretty successful in doing that. And this also leads to an impersonation attack. Now there are various ways how a user or the attacker will try to get this information. It can try to get this information by doing a cross-site scripting attack. So cross-site scripting is a browser-side attack. It can do an MITM, that is man-in-the-middle attack, where it injects itself in the current traffic and then tries to impersonate. And there are many other various ways how it will try to get that cookie. Now this whole thing is the example of a cookie stealing attack, where it tries to get that session cookie and will try to impersonate itself as if the traffic was originating from you. Now, if the Facebook servers, if they are smart enough, they would know that, a cookie session has already come through, another cookie session is already in progress. Why am I getting traffic from two different IP addresses, even though the cookie was valid from just a single IP address? That is where the location is coming in. If they have proper controls in place, it would discard one of the cookies, or hell, it will just say that I will go ahead and just discard the entire cookie. User, you can go ahead and try to log in or give me the credentials. Once again, I'll try to validate the credentials. If everything is well and fine, I'll go ahead and give you a new cookie. Now with that, the attacker will be very disappointed, because the attacker will not have the cookie that it was looking for, so that it can impersonate the user. Now with that, we come to the end of our Q&A session for today. Do let me know in the comment section down below if you want me to cover some more future topics. Share this video with your family and friends whom you think would benefit from this video. And I hope you all have a lovely day ahead. Bye now.